Hi, Sherry. Thanks for opting in to the video critique here. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing what you've done with this ad campaign. Okay, so interesting. Okay, one thing jumping out to me, this applies in almost any design you do. Try to remember to turn off the hyphens. Now you've done looks like you've justified this, so I'm going to assume you did, and maybe it's hyphenating it automatically. But in the type or the paragraph palette, you could still turn off hyphens. So be sure to do that. Okay. Um, I feel like there are too many fonts going on here. This is probably the same as this one, but this is different than this. And being in such close proximity to each other, um, it's throwing me a little bit. So maybe do feed and good all in this same font, but caps. This looks really nice. I really like this modern font. And I think it will still look really good, um, all caps. Maybe you're trying to match it to the logo here, huh? That's going to be my guess is you're trying to match it to the logo. Um, but I think it'll look better from a design perspective to have the same font since they're so close, but they're so close in proximity. But I'm trying to articulate why I feel like it doesn't work, and I'm not totally sure, but I think it'll just look better to do it with this one. And then this looks awkward because of the spacing. So probably I'm just going to say center the, or a left alignment might look nice, or even a little extreme right alignment. So I think either of those would be fine, but the amount of spacing looks a little bit awkward. So let's avoid that in this case. Um, and then I want you to pay real close attention to the alignment. Look how close this is to being aligned to this, but it's not. Okay. So if you're going to justify it, try to justify your up top as well. Okay. So your first line with your three lines, or not this one, you don't have to worry about it with the last line, but the two lines underneath it. Now I'm going to say that applies to this too, because the edge of your image is pretty close to the edge of this, but it's not actually aligned. So if I was you, I'd probably move this over a little bit more to the right and allow there to be a little bit more white space between this cool blue box that you have and this content. Okay, so really having a nice strong alignment that will carry you up here, and then having this be right on the edge, I think will look really nice. And I do think these letters are perhaps a little bit too close to the edge here. So maybe decreasing the font size a little or decreasing the amount of space between your letters a little would help. Okay. Um, you might play around with moving it up a little bit as well, give a little bit more space here. So it's kind of owning its own area. And I think, I'm not totally sure if this is perfectly, it looks like that's off a tiny bit too, okay? So try as much as possible to have this be a nice strong alignment, but I would probably move it up a little bit and then have this be over here. So they still feel a little bit, without rule of proximity, like they're really in their each their own space. Your image, this really cool feed the good graphic you created, and then your written content. A little bit of space between each of those, a little bit more, is going to help it fill it even better and allow your eye to flow through the white space. So right now my eye is almost flowing, but then it's getting stuck in here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You could perhaps move this image down a little bit as well. That could be an alternative way of doing that. All right, so let's look at this. Uh, I like this design right here. This looks really good. Um, now this is a different font than this one, and it's different than this one. I actually really like this font. This font looks really good in contrast with this, but I think you have four fonts going on. I would reduce them probably to two, max three. These two look really good together. Um, and I think this one might look nice, maybe a little bit more legible than this one, because this feels a little bit more like a um, title font than a body copy font. Okay. Um, Great job on this. This page looks really, really good. Follow that rule of, so I don't know exactly where the edge of your page is. I'm hoping this is a full bleed. Okay. So if it's not, make it a full bleed. Make it go all the way off the right and the left. I'm assuming it is. And then this is probably a little bit too close to the edge. So I would move it a little bit over more here. Just a tiny bit more over from the edge of your page, which is right here. And I think the placement looks pretty good. Okay, now this one, your draw over looks good. Placement is decent. I really make this, I kind of want you, if it's possible, I'm going to challenge you to try to see if you can make this a full bleed. Okay. It might take up too much of the page. You might, it might have to be like this big, but I think it would look really good to have these be a full bleed on 3 of the sides. Okay. So maybe it's on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and then your draw over content is up here or something. Or I think it would actually look really good on the top here. So it's going off the edge of the page here, right and left. You could do that with the blue too. You could have these two mimic each other, full bleeds on the top, right and left, and then a cool white bar kind of on the bottom. This font is very interesting. I don't know if it's this is now becoming a body copy font because it's not a title. I don't know if it's what I would select for that because as it gets small, you're going to lose some of these lines. Now, right now they're legible, but if you were looking at this on a presentation board, on a whiteboard and you're not a whiteboard, what's the word, projector or whatever, and you're sitting back, you might lose some of these letters. So moderns can be kind of tricky using them for body copy. Just a small editing thing. You don't need to capitalize subject or shirt, okay? Let's go ahead and look over here. Yeah, so this is legible, but generally speaking, from a design perspective, it's a little difficult. You could play around with putting this modern serif font here instead and here instead, having your sans serif be here and here, because your sans serif is going to be nice and legible for this, okay? However, I really like this page as it is. So you could almost just do a sans serif here. All right, something to think about because you do have it all in caps and it would not be in caps here. So those are maybe the directions I would go with your typeface. Decide if you want to switch things around enough. Pick 2 instead of 4 fonts probably. And then you have that contrast. But you either need to have a very simple serif, and this I don't think qualifies as a simple serif. Okay, a very simple serif contrasted with your big, bold sans serif here. Or you could use a sans serif and count this all in caps and then only have your contrasting font appear here and probably on your first page here. Okay, and I really like this font here. This one is also super solid and looks really good. So you could probably select either of those. You might need to play around and see what you like best. Okay, so here we have again this really nice design. We have these are good. Okay, let's actually take a look at your ad now. Your ad really does a good job of mimicking the original. Very nice job. You even have these brackets around here, which is good. I think your written content is perhaps a little bit bigger than theirs. I would like to see you go smaller. Okay, that's a very hard thing for new designers to do is to feel comfortable going this small. But look at this professional ad. Look how tiny their type is. Okay, yours is actually a little bit too big, which is probably mind-blowing because you think, oh, this is a size 10 or this is a size 9. But this is actually on their ad and we're mimicking it, so we want to go this small. Okay, everything else looks great. Really good image selection, really good muted background. I love it. Okay, really good. Watch your placement of these words. If this is not, just make sure it's consistent, whatever you're doing. And I don't mean you can't be left aligned on this page and right aligned in this page. Just maybe see how this T is right on the edge, but your N isn't. And it's hard for me because I don't know where the edge of the page is. If the edge of the page is right down the center, then this actually is fine. You have enough white space. But if you're going to make this a full bleed, then you need to have this title still bumped over a bit, more like you did on this page, but even more, okay? Um, these look to be the same size. They look to be pretty much the same place. I actually like how you have this right align and that left align consistently. That's clever, okay? And this looks good. Ooh, take off the black stroke, please. That's the only thing that is gonna be a slight annoyance of mine that maybe I can't even articulate. But look, see how they don't have a black stroke and it looks super nice and modern? This is going to look so much better. Yellow, boom, white. Okay. This was a long video critique. Hopefully that's all right. Hopefully you're not sick of the sound of my voice by now, but you're making some really good choices. Your new ad is super solid. Really good solid ad. I actually like this a lot. It'd be fun to see this element maybe appear elsewhere, but you know what? I think, no, I don't think there's room for it, and I think it's going to distract. So having it here and only here is fine. Okay, so really good start. Looking forward to seeing the edits you make. Great first draft, Sherri.